If you are new to this series, we have been going through every single national title claim in college football history for the FBS or highest level at the time it was claimed. At this time, we have covered all of the one-time and two-time champions, and are moving on to the threes and beyond. Please go back and watch those for me after this if you enjoy this sort of thing. From here, some teams will still be lumped together and some will get their own depending on how much of an argument I feel is needed. So, let's get chronic. Prior to the college football playoffs and BCS national title game, we relied only on the polls to determine the college football national champion, with some formulas and short-lived systems in between attempting to better things. The polling system failed many times, with as many as 4 to 6 teams in contention that never even played each other. This often resulted in many split national championship years. Prior to 1965, some polls voted on their national champions before the bowl games were even played, and then saw their champion lose their final game. If you go back a little further, the first attempt to straighten things out came in 1936 with the creation of the AP poll, and was often the most respected poll for many years. But even then, the early media had their biases and favorites due to what they were familiar with. If all the writers and voters only saw Notre Dame or Yale, they would have no way to compare it to what was going on down south or out west, and usually just sided with what they knew. Prior to the AP, we had a wild, lawless 67 years of college football where many or no teams called themselves national champions, and a lot of those teams didn't even claim national titles in this era until more modern polls went back and retroactively named them national champions. Are you confused yet? You should be. While the AP poll is often the benchmark for a champion from 1936 to 1998, I would still argue that point. If the AP named you champion and nobody else did, that smells a bit fishy. Personally, I tend to side with what a majority of the polls say. So if the AP says you are the champ, but 11 others don't, I look deeper into the situation. And that's just me. You are free to do or think whatever you like.
Jerry, just remember, it's not a lie if you believe it.
And of course, I view any titles won through the playoffs or BCS title game as automatically 100% legit from the start of the video, even if you disagree with the selection committee. And yes, I have also disagreed with them plenty of times. On the flip side, any that claim a separate title outside of those official parameters I view as complete bullshit, whether the selection committee screwed said team or not. History is history, and I respect that fact, even if I dislike that fact. For the purposes of this channel, I'm only going by what the school actually claims. I will do a series covering unclaimed titles later on. I have added a layer to my tiers and now broken them down into 5 sections. 100% legit, debatable but fair, I see your argument but no, complete bullshit, and introducing 1941 Alabama, which will be reserved for the most imaginary or dumb claims that exist. Texas A&M have claimed 3 national titles and has at least a chance to add one more as we head into the 2025 playoffs. This is a very proud program, and I've even been on the sidelines in their stadium for a previous job. They have tons of fans, they have loyal fans, and they have arguably the weirdest fans I've ever encountered. And I truly believe the Yell leaders are the cringiest thing in the entire sport, and you all know it. For such a diehard fan base, and one that is fully willing to invest in a championship environment, it might surprise you to learn that A&M's 3 claims come near or over 100 years ago. The Aggies have not even won a conference title since 1998, which also surprised me. But enough of what hasn't been in a while, let's look into these claims.
Dig 'em, Aggies, hey! Woo!
The first claimed national title takes us back to 1919. Some of this one may sound familiar as we did hit 1919 with Center College in a previous video. Right off the bat, I'll remind you that this is before anyone ranked teams, so judging opponent strength is mostly a guess based on traditional powerhouses of that era. The Aggies not only beat every team, but shut out every team, with some scores getting as wild as 77-0 over what is now Sam Houston State. I know that sounds impressive, and it is, but remember, several teams went undefeated and shut out most opponents during these days. Though some of the teams on the schedule this season are credible now, they weren't necessarily in 1919, and some of my research sources consider this a very weak schedule, and I'm choosing to respect that as they ran the numbers and claim hypothetically, if a poll had existed, the Aggies would not have even played anyone in the top 50. But nonetheless, Texas A&M went 10-0, winning the Southwest Conference, and were named national champions by the Billingsley Report margin of victory mathematical formula, and were named co-national champion by the National Championship Foundation, shared with 3 other teams. Harvard at 9-0-1, Illinois at 6-1, and Center at 9-0 also claimed this title. Despite Harvard and Illinois having a loss and a tie, both schedules were considered far more respectable. While Texas A&M and Center seemed to be weaker than the other two claiming titles in 1919 and have the least amount of selectors, I don't think it's fair to completely dismiss them. I'm going to call 1919 Texas A&M debatable but fair.
Gig 'em, Aggies! Hey! Woo!
The next claim by A&M is from 1927. The team went 8-0-1, outscoring all opponents by a combined 262-32, which included 4 shutouts. The one tie came against TCU 0-0 in late October on the road. The Aggies were named national champions only by Jeff Sarigan, who, as I've mentioned before in this series, is a statistician whose methods primarily helped the NCAA basketball tournament selections, but was also factored into the BCS formula during its run. Also claiming titles for 1927 are Illinois again and Yale. A couple more schools are named, but none of the schools claim it. As not to spoil any future videos, I'll be vague and say that Illinois suffered a really bad tie, so let's just look at Yale and Texas A&M for now. Yale went 7-1, with the one being a 14-10 loss to Georgia, who some selectors picked as champions. I say that to imply it was a good loss and maybe equivalent with the Aggies' tie. After trying to connect all the dots between the two, there really isn't one. In my mind, this is a classic split. I can't discredit either team over the other, but can hold them both higher than Illinois. While there is some debate over the one true champion, it doesn't seem to be a debatable title. For 1927, I'm going with 100% legit, or maybe like 80% legit, but I'm not changing my tiers just for this. It's as close to 100% as Yale, and more so than anyone not named Yale.
Gig 'em, Aggies! Hey! Woo!
The most recent Texas A&M claim comes from the 1939 season. The team won a perfect 11-0 with 6 shutout wins and ranked victories over number 13 SMU 6-2 and number 5 Tulane 14-13 in the Sugar Bowl. While USC and Cornell also claimed this title, the Aggies were consensus champs, and this is nearly indisputable. The 1939 Texas A&M team is also 100% legit, and the flag I'd fly the highest if I were them. I will cover the claims by USC and Cornell when I get to their videos. This video will likely come out a few weeks before the 2025 playoffs begin, and the Aggies are a lock to be in it. Let me know if they'll be adding another banner to these 3. I personally don't see it happening, but they at least have a better chance than some do.
And here's the yell. 1, 2, 3. A, G, G, I, E, S. A, G, G, I, E, S. A. Fight 'em, Aggies. Hey, whoop! That's the old Aggies. Thanks and gig 'em.
And there we go. If you feel I was unfair or missed a piece of info, go ahead and make your case in the comments, and remember, this is just one guy on YouTube who did some research and gave an opinion. I'm sure I won't change any fan base's opinion on the titles they choose to boast about, and UCF fans have made that pretty clear thus far. This has been College Football Chronicles, and I hope you join me next time.